So what's nice about symbols is that because each reader interprets them differently, they can get a different message from the same poem. And some of this might be due to the different experiences that you have in your life. For example, if you are in your 20s or early 20s and you read the poem about the middle of life, maybe that causes you to think about your early teens and the awkwardness of it. And so the woods could represent that awkwardness. Again, if you're in your 40s or 50s, maybe you are seeing that as now, as having that midlife crisis. But it might also be if you're, say, 40, you think about midlife in your early 20s, maybe you were without direction and felt kind of lost and didn't really, pull it together until you were in your 30s. And so these different experiences and different stages of life that we have can help us to interpret symbols in different ways. And it makes poems more accessible to a large variety of readers. Let's look at this small quatrain here. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. So let's look at two different ways of interpreting this symbol of the red, red rose. We look at it as a teenager. So a teenager might look at this red, red rose, which is love or a symbol of love. We have this metaphor here, it's like a red, red rose. So it's symbolizing love, and to a teenager, it could be a budding love, a love that is starting and is going to be fresh and is going to be new. And yet, if we read this as an adult, we see love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. We understand that that rose at some point is going to die. It's not as idealistic as a teenager might make it. So for a teenager, they might be seeing all the hope and all of the positive things that love is going to bring. And for an adult, when they read this, they might see it as an example of how we fool ourselves into believing that it's going to be something so great that is not. So these symbols, the red, red rose, we might look at that as something that's blooming or blossoming, or we might look at it as something that's going to die. Let's look at a poem then. This is Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. In this poem, we're going to read it straight through and we're going to look at some interpretations of the poem. We're going to see what the meaning is of the message. And then we're going to look at some of the symbols that we have that help support that message. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive. Stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. So what we have here is we have this traveler who is telling about this visage that he has seen in sand somewhere along his journeys. It was obviously a large sculpture of this king Ozymandias, but now all that remains are the two legs that are sticking up. And then he can see that the rest of the statue has crumbled and all the sand is now bearing it. So only the face is kind of sticking out of the sand. And we don't get the rest of the body, whether it's attached or buried under the sand, we don't know. And then he talks about that plaque on the front that says, look on my works, and those who think that you're powerful despair because I am the King of Kings. And yet all of this is decayed and his statue has crumbled. So what is the interpretation here? We could look at maybe civilizations and how civilizations, say that they are so mighty and so powerful. We look at maybe Rome, we look at the Assyrians, we look at all of these various nations and civilizations who have crumbled. We look at people also who are putting themselves as great or mighty or have great works that are going to last forever. And we see the result that time actually removes them from history or removes their mighty works. Let's look then at some of the symbols which will maybe help us to get our own individual meaning here. So in these symbols, we have a traveler from an antique land. What could this represent? If we think of an antique land, we might think of the past. So we have somebody from the past that is calling to us, or somebody who is going into the past. Might be us ourselves, or might be somebody else. We have these trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. What does the desert represent? We think of a desert as a barren place where nothing is growing, it's stagnant. We see half sunk, a shattered visage lies. So the face is half sunk into the ground, and we're only getting a part of that face is coming out. And so we can see that somebody's being buried or somebody is trying to look forward but is being buried in the past, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer. So we look at that as maybe disgust at, how the future is eroding the past, eroding these great deeds. We look further in the poem, Ye Mighty. Who could the mighty represent here? What's that a symbol of? That might be if we're looking at other kings, we're looking at other civilizations. This could represent even the accomplishments or goals of others. To say, wilt before my goals and my accomplishments. And then we get the lone and level sands. So level, we think of that as maybe as a symbol or representation of equality. We get these level sands that stretch far away. Kings are no better than paupers here. They'll be buried in the sands that time kind of strips everyone of all of these great accomplishments that they think they have. They will die along with everyone else. So we look at these symbols, we see how the symbols can be represented in multiple ways within the poem.